that's a soda pop from Soda Hughes, and you are watching the Malak channel, and today we're looking at a fun one. Anthony Bourdain's Hungry Ghosts, Tales of Fear and Food from Around the World. So, a little bit of explanation for this one. My aunt is a sous-chef in Las Vegas. She works at the Wynn. She's really awesome. And this summer was a really rough time for me, and I was lucky enough to get to spend some time and stay with her, and she introduced me to Anthony Bourdain's cooking shows. Kind of traveling, and he's trying food and stuff. And it was a really great comfort show, and it came at a really great time. And so I was really grateful for that experience, and so now like that show is like kind of special for me. And she talked to me a little bit about Anthony Bourdain and how he was kind of brave in the fact that he was writing in his books about kind of the old style of culinary culture and employment, and how it was super toxic and like really messed up. And he struggled with a lot of things, and he had a hard time. And so I had no idea he had a graphic novel. He part of what makes him fun is just his like he's really relatable, and he has this crazy sense of humor. And you can really see it in the stories of this graphic novel. And he partnered with some seriously talented artists. And it's just fun. So the way the story starts, all the chefs have kind of cooked for this rich Russian and their party. And, they're super rich. So they're talking about how he's kind of a bad dude, kind of a criminal. And he wants to do this activity. And I love how they set this up. So he wants to do this tradition where they all tell ghost and horror stories. So the chefs take turns telling stories. And there's going to be some spoilers, but this book has been out for a while and stuff. So just be aware. The first one kind of involves a cook who's kind of done with the day. He doesn't want to help this person who's starving who comes in, and so that person turns into a monster and eats the chef. The next one gets crazy. It's about a lady who was found by a bunch of pirates, and they all decide that they're going to rape her. And so she just eats literally everyone's balls off, like all of them. She's like a lobster monster, and then she's just like, peace out, give me all your gold if you want them back. And a lot of the stories, seem to have, they don't seem, it's pretty obvious that they have a lesson attached to them, which seems to apply to that culinary work culture, which is where I can definitely feel Anthony Bourdain's voice coming through. The next one is about gluttony. So there's this guy who, and it's another cool thing is, they kind of take place in different venues and stuff. The next one is a guy who owns kind of an estate with a bunch of horses, but he gets a taste for horse, and he goes just crazy for the horse. So he's just eating all of the horses, and he eats all of the breeding horses too until he has no horses left except for an old war horse, and he eats that too. And so the horse like attacks him in his sleep and like makes his gut explode. And one of the things that I love is in the end of the story, the chef is talking about how the moral of the story is gluttony, but he's known time to time to have some horse himself. And I've had horse. I had a horse when I was in Sicily, and it was very, very good. And so that kind of made me laugh. The cook is also like, yeah, don't eat all the horses, but, horse every once in a while is all right. The next one seemed to be kind of one of the more, less direct, kind of more aimless stories. Takes place in Italy. A guy who accidentally poisons some people. I'm going to have to maybe try and read this one again, because I'm not sure I quite got the moral from this one. But it was fun. And the art in all of them is distinguishable and beautiful. Really fantastic book all around. And yeah, there are these like heads, and he manages to kind of fend them off, and he's got one. He goes to jail because they think he cut some guy's head off, but he's able to explain that it's just a goblin. He gets accosted by a thief, and the thief is like, "Dang, dude, like, you cut someone's head off?" He's like, "Nah, I can't really explain it, but like, if you want the head, you can have it." And the thief is like, "Nah, that sounds like a great idea. I could really scare people with this head." And the chef is like, "All right, joke's on you." And I guess the head eats the thief. I don't really understand that one, but it was fun. The next one seems to be the most incisive of all of them, probably. And it kind of literally shows some of the horrible things that chefs are doing, the sexual assault and bullying and stuff. And the chef is saying that, that was him when he was younger. But there was another Vietnamese chef, which kind of makes me wonder, with the amount of detail, I wonder if there was a Vietnamese chef who stood up for Anthony Bourdain when he was young or something like that. It also got me thinking, I wonder how many of the chefs in the stories are like references to actual chefs, because I can totally see Anthony Bourdain tossing some real people in. So they say that, the story is that these people are bullies because they have an uncomfortable ball shoved up their ass. I forgot to give a warning. If you know anything about Anthony Bourdain, he's a rather vulgar person. So the comics themselves are sort of vulgar, and so I'm going to be being a little bit vulgar. So apparently to some of these monsters, what are they, Shirikodama or something? No, that's the ball. I can't really remember what the turtle monster's name is, but I'm pretty sure they're like in Neo too. But the Vietnamese guy turns out to be this turtle monster, and he eats the ball out of the guy's butt. The next one, again, just totally different styles, but really wonderful stuff. This one seems to be kind of that classic American-looking comic style. And he talks about kind of this amateurish chef. His family doesn't really know any better, but he always goes and cooks for them. He's not all that great. But one day, after eating, he noticed kind of a boil on his stomach, but it's this kind of insatiable hunger. Yeah, it's kind of like an alien monster stuck in him, and they have to keep feeding it, but he can't eat because it's eating all the food. So they bring in this doctor, and we got more butt stuff. The doctor feeds him this kind of poison, and then he's now comes the fun part, and he has to pull this like psychotic worm monster out of his ass, and he chops it up, and they're all, "Ooh, thank goodness it's over." But the little chopped pieces each have a mind of their own, and they go and attack the people. And at the end he says, "As you well know, pest control is always a challenge." And the next one, Snow Woman, was a really interesting one. Just kind of talking about how this lady decides to spare this guy, this kind of Oni woman, because he's really pretty and she wants him. And she's drawn really beautifully. The contour in the line and kind of the blue line on white, I think, was really effective. Really cool character. But he kind of hints at it with friends and stuff. He has a hard time keeping it to himself, but he doesn't give it all the way away. Eventually he meets a nice girl. They have kids and stuff. They have a great life. She's so pretty. But one day when she's like looking in the icebox or something, he's like, "Wow, I can't help but mention how you remind me of that Oni girl that I was with." And boom, turns out she's the Oni girl. And she gets like super mad, and she's like, all right, I'm gonna use you one last time. And then she freezes him. And they all abandon the kids, which is really sad. But the lesson from this story is that discretion is maybe a little bit too much in short supply. And I really like that story. And then finally there's the cowhead. And so there's these people who are in a famine, and they eat all their food, they eat all their pets, they start eating each other, their own neighbors. And so then this like cow god comes, kind of the god of hungry people, and he comes and he has something to say to them, but the people mob him and they eat him. I love this panel, just the way the cow person is cut up in the panels, and you got all the violence going on. But then all of the bits of the cow person that they ate turn into monsters and eat all the people. And kind of the moral of the story is about gluttony in a time of famine and, unethical consumption. And so then turns out all the chefs at the party are monsters. And they eat all the rich people there. And just a lot of really incisive, kind of moralistic stories. I guess you could say a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down, or maybe as Anthony Bourdain would say, a fuck ton of liquor and alcohol helps the food of questionable origin go down. Then there's kind of this dedica at the end, between his friend and Bourdain. For the hungriest ghost of them all, my friend, my collaborator, my pal, my longtime running mate, may resting in peace truly not be your option. Save me a beer, brother, and a seat at the table. If you know how Anthony Bourdain died, it's really sad. It's just really too bad. But that kind of was like, ooh, at the end for me. I was like, oh, that's so sad. But I'm glad they were able to get this project done. It's really amazing. I don't know how much of it Bourdain got to see, but it is a nice project. And it comes with recipes at the end. And they give you some little info about the monsters and stuff. I would really like to own this book. This one I've just got from the library. But I really like this one. The construction is good. Page quality is good. There's that Oni girl. Really beautiful works in this book. And yeah, kind of my main gripes were just, a couple of the stories being a little bit less direct. A little just not quite my style. And also the cover. I'm not a huge fan of the cover design. Just the typography choice, the way it's broken up, the little 5 all-new original recipes as if it's a cookbook. The back, I don't know. Construction good, cover design not so much, and interior typography not so much. But I would say that I really appreciate this book. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Definitely has a lot of Bourdain's character in there. The art is incredible. I'm going to give this one a really strong A rank. I liked this book. I want to own it one day. It made me want to watch more of Anthony Bourdain's shows again. If you haven't seen them yet, I highly recommend you check them out. I also highly recommend you like and subscribe to the channel. Really helps me out. Consider supporting me through Patreon. That is a huge help. You can find the link to my Patreon in the description. There's benefits like getting your name in the credits or choosing what video is uploaded next. Be sure to check all that out, and I hope to see you again. Thank you so much. Take care. You're such a